Hello, welcome to another episode of My Life in Objects. So I was trying to think of a good object to do this week, and I came up with various things, and as I was going through one of the upstairs bookshelves looking for ideas, I noticed in the section we have where we have all the sort of TV show type stuff and the films, I found this, and I'd completely forgotten about this. In actual fact, the existence of this may mean that one of the very early episodes I did where I was talking about, what's the oldest book that I have that I bought from new, which at the time I believed, to the best of my knowledge, was my copy of the Silmarillion, because that was the only thing that had really survived over the ages. But then when I was looking at the release date of this, the publication date of this, so this was a book, as you can see, about the making of Doctor Who. And when I check in here, it was originally published in 72, but was reprinted in 76. So, yeah, this definitely, even if I bought it a year or so later, I'm pretty sure, actually I say I bought it, that's the other thing, this may have been bought for me. But you can get some idea of the age of this book by how yellowed the pages have now become. And of course the reason why I bought this book, like a lot of kids who grew up in the 70s, I was a big fan of Doctor Who. And I suppose the period that I have fondest memories for, and part of the reason why I would have bought the book at the time, well, I suppose there wasn't anything else out, but I suppose part of the reason I kept hold of it was my favourite period was the period from Jon Pertwee through Tom Baker as Doctor Who. Now, one of the reasons why it doesn't stretch to before Jon Pertwee is I actually don't have real good memories. And when I go through the book, I'm going to revisit why that's the case. Why I just remember those earlier episodes, because I know I was watching Doctor Who before Jon Pertwee was Doctor Who, but I don't have very clear memories. And yes, that thing is true about saying, kids used to hide behind the sofa when Doctor Who used to come on a Saturday afternoon. I was one of those kids. And it's a nice book. It's a nice length, so 126 pages. I would have got this 76, so I would be I'd be something around 12, around there, something around there when I probably got this book, because I reckon I got it sometime after maybe 76, maybe 77. The other significance, actually, I don't know if I mentioned, it's published by Target, and they, as you can see, had a number of Doctor Who books out at that point in time. But yeah, it's nicely divided up. So how it all began: Enter the Daleks, who is the Doctor? Tom Baker is Doctor Who, so because he was the actor who played the Doctor at that point in time. The three Doctors, Monsters Galore and the Master, the Men from Unit, the Good Companions, some regulars old and new, The Adventures of Doctor Who, Inside a Television Studio, 4A, The Diary of a Production, How to Make a Monster, and A New Life for the Doctor. So for me, I suppose the bit I was most interested in at the time would have been The Adventures of Doctor Who, because there's some interesting synopses of all of the episodes up to the point when this book was obviously sent for publication. So let's have a flick through and just get a feel for this book. So it's a bit of a background story about, how they decided to, make this character originally a crotchety old man in a police box, and all the various, if you're familiar with the whole Doctor Who canon, you'll pretty much know why it's a police box, and some of the initial impetus for doing that particular thing. Now I'm just going to check something, because does it mention? Yeah, there we go. Serial was transmitted in 23rd November 1963, so that was actually before I was born. And yes, Saturday, that was it. It's funny, now I've found this, I suspect I'm going to be reading through this at some point over the next few days. It's stood up remarkably well in terms of the spine. I must have really took care of it, actually. So a bit about Tom Baker and his background, and then some stuff about the preceding doctors to him in terms of the actors. Obviously the key monsters that used to come up. A bit about Unit, because that became a thing when John Pertwee was the Doctor. Because at that point he was, for various reasons that the book goes into, he was stuck on Earth. Because he'd been exiled there, hadn't he, by the Time Lords, I think. I don't know if that's the right term for that, but he was definitely stuck there. And obviously, as a consequence, there was a lot more episodes that featured Unit. There's some nice, black and white stills in here. Obviously, very much Tom Baker focused. There's the Master, other companions. And yeah, here we have the bit that I probably flicked through the most, which was a complete chronological summary of the Doctor Who adventures. So pretty short, but very nostalgic. So you can see here I've sort of marked something. I'm just going to go forward. So this would have all been, was it William Hartnell period, and who was the other actor? He's on the tip of my tongue. Let me just go back. William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton, that was it, Patrick Troughton. So if I go back to where I was, so that era, I've watched episodes since then from that era, but I don't have much actual memory of watching things. And I was trying to think, at what point onwards did I have a real clear memories of watching it, like, week in, week out? And for me, it was definitely from the Spearhead from Space forward. So that's the point. So between War Games and Spearhead from Space, this is where, the Doctor gets exiled to Earth, and at the same time he is regenerated. It's physically changed, as they say here. But before that, there is one that does stick in my head, and I think because it was set on the London Underground. And yeah, this one, Web of Fear. I do remember this because I remember it featured Yetis. Yeah, on the London Underground, from what I remember. Yeah, Yetis are at large in the underground. And I may remember this one with the Ice Warriors, but I'm not sure. So definitely around this period I have sketchy memories, but once we get to here, Spearhead from Space, then yeah, I remember a lot of the Silurians, Inferno, that green liquid one, yeah. Terror of the Autons, Mind of Evil, Claws of Axis, Colony in Space. Oh yeah, the demons. Remember that one, Day of the Daleks, the Sea Devils. They always make me chuckle because they just look like parrots. Curse of Peladon, Time Monsters, the Three Doctors, Carnival of Monsters, Frontier in Space, the Green Death. Oh yeah. Was that the one with the maggots? Yeah. Oh yeah. That was pretty scary at the time. In fact, a lot of this was pretty scary at the time. Well, that's right, they went back to Peladon. And then this is the point at which Tom Baker took over as Doctor Who. So here, Doctor is in a coma, recovering from the effects of his latest body change. Oh, it's on Taran Experiment. Revenge of the Cybermen. Terror of the Zygons. Pyramids of Mars. Oh, there, yeah, the Brain of Morbius. That really creeped me out, that one. Yeah. That was pretty creepy. Once the Doctor's head for Morbius's new body. Yeah, it was what did they have? They had that sort of weird body, and then on top of it was like a plastic head with the brain of Morbius in it. And then prior to that, hadn't the brain of Morbius been in some sort of vat? I think that was the first time I came across the whole brain in a vat concept. Seeds of Doom. The Mask of Mandragora. And then the Hand of Fear. And then it sort of stops there, obviously, at the time. That would have been the most recent episode to make it into the book before it was, sent to the publishers. A little bit about inside a television studio, a diary of production. And there we go. And there's a nice little excerpt from the story and the rehearsal script, if you're interested in that aspect of things. Yeah, it was cool because it taught me a lot about, okay, very superficially, but a lot about the process of making like a TV series, a long-running TV series on the BBC, and so that was really interesting as well. So I thought you'd enjoy that. I'm glad I found it, and I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I'll have to find out actually where they're currently streaming old Doctor Who episodes, because that would be interesting to actually binge watch that period from Pertwee into Baker, maybe. Yeah, they were cool times. It's very interesting. Yeah, and this has come up so much. Again, I think I mentioned there's this. Yeah, it's come out in '76, so I know I keep on about this, but music-wise, I think '76 through to around '81. Yeah, I feel if I was to ever write a book, that would be a really interesting book, a period in my life to write about from a popular culture standpoint, actually. Set against the backdrop of everything that was going on in the UK at that time as well, with all the sort of unrest and various other things. And from that, from really my teenage years, I suppose, up to when I left school. Anyway, thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next episode.